Welcome to my channel Daily Bulletin News. Johnny gets one heck of a birthday surprise, and Nancy demands answers from Joy. Bonnie drops by Body and Soul's office. Abe is reading through casting resumes for the new role, and Bonnie says he can cancel the auditions as she's found the perfect person to play Regan, the girl who comes between Arrow and Faith. Abe asks who this perfect person is. Bonnie tells him it's Chloe Lane's sister, Joy. He says she's not on his audition list. Bonnie explains she came all the way from New York for a chance, and says she is very talented. Abe asks about her experience. Bonnie doesn't know the details of her resume but reminds him that he gave her a chance with no experience. Abe doesn't want any more problem actors, but Bonnie assures him that Joy is an angel. Bonnie asks him to give her a shot, so he agrees. Alex, in his undies, opens his door to Chanel. She thinks she's interrupting again, and Stephanie is here. He says she's not. Johnny puts on a shirt and says Stephanie just wants to be friends. However, they just keep on. Chanel says friends with benefits is fine unless he wants something more. Alex doesn't know what Stephanie wants. Chanel says he should ask her. Chanel gets a text from Abe and he needs to see her. She asks Alex to pick up Johnny's cake, and not to let Johnny figure the plans out. He knows what a surprise party is. She laments that she hasn't seen much of Johnny lately as he's been super late the past few nights. In Horton Square, Stephanie goes over a speech with Paulina and has a list of no-no topics to avoid, given that she likes to go off script. Leo sits down with them, and Paulina tells him they're having a business meeting. Leo explains this is an emergency, and there is a sex scandal at Body and Soul and he needs Stephanie on it right now. Paulina says the show hasn't even aired, which is why Leo needs to nip this in the bud. Stephanie asks what this scandal is. Leo says he has it on good authority that Alex is having sex with one of his co-stars. Paulina hopes Leo is not suggesting it is her happily married daughter. Leo isn't suggesting Chanel, Bonnie or Hattie, as there are plenty of actresses who could have fallen for Alex. Paulina asks exactly where the scandal is, as actors date all the time. Leo says this hookup happened on set, so they have to make this scandal disappear before it takes down the whole show. Later, Stephanie is alone and beating herself up for what's happened. She runs into Alex, who explains he's picking up Johnny's cake, and asks if she wants to come with him. She says no, and she'll see him on set. He can see something is wrong, and asks what it is. Stephanie tells him they shouldn't sleep together again, ever. Alex says he'll respect what she wants but asks where this is coming from. She states they agreed not to do it again, they work together, and what happened on set was a mistake. She says they have to keep things professional moving forward. He says if that is what she wants, she insists it is and walks away. Nancy shows up at Joy's door at the Salem Inn, and says she wasn't in her room at 2 a.m., so where was she? Nancy barges into the room, and Joy reminds her that having 2 rooms was for privacy. Nancy reminds her that she's paying for these rooms and asks where she was. Joy says she went to a bar and was just hanging out, and she met someone. Nancy asks who. Joy flashes back to meeting Johnny. She tells her mom it was just some guy, and she doubts she knows him. Joy asks her mom if she talked to her friend about the role. Nancy says Bonnie is working to get her an audition. Suddenly, she gets a text from Bonnie saying that Abe has agreed to see Joy and that she needs to get there as soon as possible. Joy is still in her pajamas and rushes off to change. Chanel arrives at the Body and Soul office and meets with Abe. He needs her to read with an actress for Faith's rival as a favor to Bonnie. Chanel asks who the actress is. Joy arrives and introduces herself to Chanel. Abe gives them the scenes to go over, and Joy thanks Abe for fitting her in. They look over the scripts, and Joy decides to just wing it and jump right in without running lines. They begin reading the lines, and Regan's character ran into Arrow at the Cheatin' Heart the night before and came onto him. Faith calls her a home-wrecking bitch and pretends to slap her. Later, Joy asks Abe if she got the part. He says he has other people to see, but will reach out if they are interested in her. He tells her she may go, and she departs. More. Salem without John Black at the hospital. Marlena wishes Johnny a happy birthday and says Allie sends her love. Marlena got him a cupcake made by Chanel, which he sets aside. She can tell something is wrong. He says he was just up late blocking scenes for the day. He also heard she was taking over the role of Charlemagne. Marlena says she's only doing it for the day, and because Leo talked her into it. She heard Hattie stormed off the set. Johnny says she cursed the show as she left, and he flashes back to walking in on Alex and Stephanie, assuming it was Chanel thanks to Seth. Johnny thinks Hattie's curse is already working. She asks why he says that. Seth interrupts and tells Marlena he can't wait to work with her today. Marlena says she doesn't have much to do other than take a nosedive down the elevator shaft. Bonnie arrives, and Johnny asks her to show his grandma around the set. Alone, Seth tells Johnny that there is a lot of non-professionalism on this set, what with Hattie walking off, Leo rejecting his rewrites, and Faith and Arrow hooking up. The show begins shooting scenes. Marlena finishes taping Charlemagne's death scenes and hopes she doesn't have to jump down that shaft again. Leo calls her a one-take wonder, and Bonnie says she deserves a daytime Emmy for that performance. Marlena has to get back to her day job, and Johnny comments that it's the job that matters. She says his job matters, too, as people count on him. He says he knows, and he's just exhausted. She tells him happy birthday again and they embrace. Bonnie asks if she can go too, but Leo says there has been a new additions to the script. He needs her to work in some scenes with Seth. Seth sees he has a lot of lines for once and is thrilled. Johnny says this is the first he's heard of these changes. Leo assures him it's all been approved. They get ready for the shot, and Bonnie is on a gurney covered with a sheet. She hopes she's not getting killed off again, but Leo says she's not going anywhere. Johnny calls action, and Seth's character is on the phone discussing Charlemagne's death. He says there is still more of the serum, and Pine Valley hasn't seen the last of Charlemagne. He then wheels the gurney off. Johnny confronts Leo, saying his grandmother only agreed to film the death scenes, not take over the role. Leo explains Charlemagne has been back from the dead a number of times, and this just gives them some future insurance just in case. Later, Leo tells Johnny that Chanel needs to see him as she has a question about a scene. Johnny notes they aren't shooting her today. Leo exclaims he doesn't know what this is about, and she is his wife. Johnny leaves to find his wife. Paulina arrives with Chanel's gift for Johnny, which she left at home, and she thought she'd give her best to Johnny and have a piece of cake. Marlena, who is chatting with Bonnie, is paged to the Paulina asks Leo if there is any news on the PR snafu. Suddenly, Stephanie arrives with balloons and Seth mistakes her as the actress who plays Faith. Seth wants to run some lines with her in preparation for their scenes, but she has no idea what he's talking about. In an exam room, Alex tells Chanel that he brought the cake, and Johnny is on his way, so she needs to keep him distracted. Johnny arrives, and Alex quickly departs. Johnny asks what he walked in on, and Chanel claims they were just running lines. He calls her a liar and says he knows they were just having sex. She tells him that is crazy, but Johnny says he saw them together before. He tells her he followed her to Alex's apartment the other day, and heard them talking about how clueless he is. She says this is not what he thinks. He says it is, and she is a cheating slut and lying to his face. He can't look at her and storms out. Back on the set, Stephanie tells Seth he has her confused with someone else as she's not an actor. Bonnie passes out the birthday hats, and Stephanie tries to avoid Alex. Johnny eventually storms onto the set and walks into his surprise birthday party. Alex tells him that his wife Chanel did all this for him. Chanel walks out and coldly says, "Surprise." Johnny realizes the mistake he's made. Joy returns to her room at the inn and finds her mother waiting for her. Joy informs her the audition went fine, and she's waiting to hear back. Nancy confronts her with a wedding ring the cleaning people found and asks whose it is. Next, on Days of Our Lives, Paulina blames Abe for Chanel and Johnny's problems, and Leo thinks Hattie's curse is coming true. Stay tuned and subscribe the channel.